Hi, everybody. I am Bennett Shear, and I'm your host of American Idol Unaired, the singers you didn't see. I am very excited to bring you the very first episode, and I'm even more ecstatic to introduce my first guest who indeed competed on this season of American Idol. Please welcome Julia Jewell.
Hi, everybody.
Hi. Julia, I always wish that there was some way to see every single contestant on American Idol. The reality is that's impossible. There's just too many. But when you watch the show, you see the singers one by one, and they walk in that room. They say who they are. They kind of tell their story. So on this podcast, you're going to get a chance to do that. We're going to talk about who you are as a musician, your time on American Idol, and what you have coming up. We're going to get through all of that today. So I want to give you the chance to tell our listeners your story.
So, I'm a girl from Connecticut. Grew up here my whole life, and I was always very shy. And music was that way for me to show people who I am and get them to like come up and talk to me after I perform, so I could make some friends. So I started to get into that around 8 years old, and I loved it. I love singing. And my idol, actually, and this is very true, my idol when I was 10 years old till now has been Katy Perry because
Mm-hmm.
I was super obsessed with the song Firework.
Mm.
I love inspirational music, and that was a big thing for me. So when I saw that she was going to be the judge, I was like, okay, I have to start, actually putting myself out there. I need to do this show. So this was actually the first year I ever auditioned. And yeah, but I've been doing music my whole life. I even went to college for it. I graduated this last August early because I'm 20, and I did it in 2 years instead of
Wow.
4. I went to Berkeley College of Music,
Uh-huh.
and I just, love songwriting. That's my big thing. I songwrite, I play piano and guitar, and I sing, and I release music and produce it sometimes myself.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Wow, 2 years. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy.
Brutal.
I did a lot of transfer credits.
Uh-huh.
I did like 2 colleges at once. And then I also did all the summers. So I did nonstop school for like
Okay.
2.5 years. Yeah.
Is there a time for a social life amidst all that, or?
Yeah. Honestly, well, because of COVID, things kind of shifted around.
Ah, that's a good
I was
point.
originally going to I was still going to cut it short and do 3 years, but it ended up being 2 years because of COVID, because I was able to get things done even faster at
Mm.
home. But I mean, I missed out on, performing with my friends and stuff because at Berkeley, that's a big thing. You go out, you make friends, and you like, hey, you want to go play at this bar or like go and do a bunch of stuff. You want to play on my new song and stuff like that. So I kind of missed out on that experience, but I still, made it through though.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna ask you about that because I noticed in your Instagram bio it said Berkeley, and the
Yeah.
first thing I thought of, like, I almost, well, we'll get into Idol soon, but like if it's almost like any similarities to sort of like being in American Idol's Hollywood Week, where you're just surrounded by all these other musicians and
Yeah,
you're playing on each other's songs and you're doing sets together. Like I feel like that sort of music community must have been really cool to be a part of.
it was. Actually, it felt familiar to me when I got there. Unlike, I was talking with a few people that were at Idol before we were even auditioned in front of the judges, and they were saying how, oh my God, I've never been around people that are also really talented. I'm usually like the only one that sings in my town. And I kind of got more used to it because of Berkeley, because the moment you get there, there's like another 3,000 singers around you that are also talented.
Right.
And it was definitely a reminder of that when I went back to Idol, because think about it, I had 2 years away from everybody at school because of COVID. So I wasn't really seeing all the talent. I wasn't next to it anymore. And so being back in Idol, I was like, oh my gosh, all these singers. A lot of people, I mean, they didn't air this, but a lot of people sung, around with each other before we even auditioned. And you got to hear people sing in like a little circle, like a
Right.
campfire.
Yeah.
So it was fun.
I see that they show that footage, and sometimes they do it in Hollywood. I think they do it more on the auditions where, like, for filming purposes, they have you all sitting in like the waiting area. I think it's like outside or something, and
Yeah, it is.
everybody's just jamming out. That seems like it'd be a really fun experience.
Yeah, it was. It was cool.
Now, American Idol would not exist without musicians, and at the end of the day, music is an enormous part of it. So, I mean, when it comes to being an artist, who are your influences? What's your style?
I love pop music. So my favorite artists that I've listened to are Katy Perry. I love Dua Lipa too. Lady Gaga was a big influence as well. And I also really like K-pop. That's a big thing of mine. It's a bit different. It's a little bit more techno, a little more kind of bubbly energy to it.
Right.
Depending on the artist, actually, does depend, but in general. So that sort of can come off in my music, but I definitely have a very powerful kind of voice. I like to sing strong, I like to sing emotionally. And I think that it's definitely more of the Lady Gaga influence. But
Right.
I also grew up on rock music. I did School of Rock in my town, which is an after school program where you do basically rock shows. And so I had like Led Zeppelin and like Aerosmith and all those different bands from the past that were an influence on me. And they sing really strong and
Right.
heavy. And yeah.
That's a cool range. I mean, Dua Lipa, I find her career really interesting because, she started in the UK, born there, and like she just took off in the States, like kind of out of nowhere. I mean, I
Yeah.
remember I heard I use the app Shazam a lot. I don't know if you use it. Like I go out whenever I
I
hear
do,
songs I
yeah.
like, I just and like it was like I think I was a big fan of the X Factor in the UK, and like it was like in 2016 I was watching the show and like they're playing her music in the background, so I Shazammed and I'm like, this is a really cool artist. And then I also saw that she was actually in, I think it was in 2013, there was a commercial for the new season of X Factor, and they had her as like a mock contestant, like showing her like walking into the room. It was like a dramatic kind of like, this is what it's like for the contestant. She was never actually on the show, but they like used her as like an actress before she like hit it big. And then she became bigger than any of the contestants that were ever on that show that season because Dua Lipa just took off. I mean, I still don't get sick of Levitating, even though it's played every other hour probably on the radio. But
Yeah, it is.
needless to say, I think that's a great artist to kind of have influence from. Now, so yeah, so I guess you have these inspirations, you have kind of your genre, and so sometime probably I'm guessing middle late last year is when you decide to try out for Idol. Are you approached by producers? Do you sign up yourself? What was that like?
So I actually signed up myself. My mom had told me in the beginning of August, Julia, American Idol's coming up. Maybe you should audition, Maybe you should. Katy Perry's the judge, you love the show. I've listened to the show. I've watched it for a very long time. But I stopped watching it a couple of the years, but for most of the years I've watched, but I never auditioned. And I was like a little nervous. I was like, I don't know, this show, I don't know. But way later in August. So like 3 weeks after she told me, I was like, okay, I'm gonna audition and I'm gonna audition tomorrow. So I just signed up last minute for like the day after, I had signed up. And it was a Zoom meeting, basically. So I auditioned open call on Zoom. And that same day, they told me I made it to see the judges. So it was actually really quick process for me at least, and it was a few rounds. Like I had to wait. I did my first singing in front of somebody, and then I had to sing in front of some other people as well later, and then they said that I made it. So
Right. That makes sense because I figured, so it's usually it is 3 rounds, right? So it's the casting call, and I think they used to do like a bus, and now it's all virtual because of COVID. And
yeah,
then it's, I think the second round is the executive producer round. Is that right? So you're
yeah,
in front of
it
like
is.
all the people who are in charge.
Yeah,
How many
the
people are in
second
that
one.
room?
I think there were about
Uh huh.
two of them. Yeah, and me, obviously.
Right.
Yeah,
And,
nobody else was there. Like no contestants or anything.
what are you singing? Both. Well, let's go back to the first round and then the executive producer round. What songs are you singing?
I actually sung the same ones. I sung three different songs. First one was Edge of Glory by Lady Gaga. Second one was Be the One by Dua Lipa. And the third one was an original song of mine called Monster. And I did the
Gotcha.
same three for the executive producers.
Uh huh. And what are was there feedback on either of those rounds from them?
They were like, "You're cool.
That's
Let's hear
good.
the other next one." They don't. you go in there assuming you're not going to be able to sing every song.
Mm-hmm.
You go in there assuming you're just going to do 1 minute of singing, and I don't know if they'll what else they'll want to hear. So for me, it was like, okay, I sung the first one, and then they were like, okay, can we hear another one? And then I sing the next one. It's like, do you have an original? And then I sang my original, and then they were like, okay, you made it. I'm like,
Wow.
oh, okay, cool. So
I
yeah.
imagine your comfort level goes up with each song because it's like, oh wow, I'm doing pretty good. Like they want to hear a second song, they
Yeah.
want to hear an original.
Well,
Like,
you're watching, or at least for me, I open my eyes and I'm looking at the people when I'm performing.
right.
So, oh, and I was playing piano, by the way. I wasn't just singing.
Oh wow.
And I was watching the reactions, and I could kind of tell because they were smiling and like starting to get into it when I was getting into it. So I could tell that they were liking it.
Yeah.
So the more they kept asking me to do something, I was like, okay, yes, this
Yeah.
might happen. Yeah.
And that's smart too, because to be able to, I mean, right there, Lady Gaga, Dua Lipa, two of your biggest influences, and then to have an original, like that's perfect that you kind of got to show who you really are as an artist, because at the end of the day, that's what you want to be like on that show. You want people to look at you and say, well, this is who I am. And you, I guess, picked the right songs, and that must have felt good that your style, who you are, resonated with those producers.
Yeah. I picked those songs on purpose for that very reason. I wanted to show exactly what I want to be as an artist and pick people and songs that fit that.
Right.
I didn't want to pick an older song that didn't quite match what I want to be.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, that's good choices. So finally, you do make it to the judges. Now, what city did you audition in?
I was in LA.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's like around October. They're probably filming that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It was.
So you get to LA. Walk me through your audition day, because I know it's not what we see. I mean, obviously you weren't shown, but usually, you see a singer for 5 minutes and see the next one, but there's a whole day from arriving to filming. So what's the routine there?
We film a lot. There's a lot of interviews that we have to do, which you do see for the people that, I mean, they obviously, it's TV, so they're going to chop it up, but they ask like basically your life story, where are you from? Why do you love music? Who are you as an artist? Why did you audition? They ask you all these questions in interview format. Sometimes they take you outside and, we do, they take you to the streets and stuff like that. You see footage of that too. And sometimes if you have a parent there, they'll talk to your parent, or especially if you're a minor, because the minors have to have parents. That's like a rule. So, but yeah, they do that. And also sometimes they'll have you go, the 360 room with the 180 room with the big screen.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, they'll have you go in there, and they don't tell you, you just go in there. You don't know what's about to happen. So,
right.
You're like, oh, whoa, whatever comes up on the screen, So no, I don't know if everybody did that or not, but I know that was a thing. And yeah, you basically just tell your story and you wait, wait for your time, because it's a long day. It's a long day. They have you going and, continuing to do different filming things. They also have you take pictures, like for promotion purposes. Yeah, especially if you make it far. Like when you go to the Instagrams of the people that made it, they post a lot of the pictures, and that was Idol that like helped them take the pictures and stuff like that. So
right.
All that for social media,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So a lot of waiting, as you said. Around what time of a very long day, I imagine, did you finally get to go into the room?
I went in around 2 p.m.
Okay.
The thing is you're up really early to do all this stuff, and there's afterward interviews and all that kind of stuff too.
Mm-hmm.
So I went in at 2, and I woke up that day at like 4 a.m. though, so it's like already like, wow, I'm tired now.
Yeah.
But I wasn't actually tired, because I was like, oh my god, my heart was pounding, But yeah, so you do, before you go in, you do some interviews and all that stuff, and then afterwards you do afterward interviews. Right. And I was super nervous, obviously. They tell you sort of the order, like of who's going next, and then they switch it around all the time though, so you don't really know if that's when you're gonna go. But in general, I knew I was gonna go around 2, and it ended up working out. That was basically when I went in. So yeah, they take you to another room. Well, actually, because of COVID, it was like outside, so I went just upstairs, and I just waited another hour when they pulled me for the other people to go that were in front of me. And then you're like, okay, you're on, go.
Oh God, showtime.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is probably the most obvious question in the world. Are you terrified? I mean, this is it. You're here.
Terrified. That's an understatement. Oh my God. You know what it is? It's like, I feel after that experience, I find everything else to be a lot easier because that was so difficult. The room, when you walk in, it's really bright. They mic you, and the judges are mic'd, so it almost sounds like you're looking at them forward, but you're hearing them kind of this way. So it's really disorienting when you go in there, and you're like, what do I even say to these people?
Right.
Like, what? Yeah. Like, and they asked me questions, and I was like, I don't even know. Like, they're like, oh, who are you? You know, actually, Katie was the one that was like, hi, like that. She does her like dip of the head and like big eyes, really big eyes. And like, who are you? I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm Julia Jewel, you know? And then she complimented my outfit and stuff. So it made me feel a little bit calmer when they were being nice to me and stuff. But then when you start singing, I went to the piano and did the same song. I did Edge of Glory. And I was just praying that I wasn't going to mess up too badly. I was like, can I just get through this song without a big mess up, you know? Like, that was my baseline, what I wanted to do. And obviously I wanted to do amazing, but I was so, my body, you know, sometimes you can't control how you're going to react to a certain situation. So I was like, just trying to stay in touch with my body and be like, okay, you're going to play these chords. Your foot's going to go there. Everything's going to be okay. And it ended up working out just fine. Like, I sung the whole thing perfectly fine. There was I didn't like mess up the chords or crack or go super flat or sharp. It was all just, you know, worked out good. And yeah, I mean, obviously it worked out good because I got the ticket. So, but yeah.
Verse and a chorus, or they let you do the whole song?
So it depends. But I did just the verse, pre-chorus, and chorus. That's what I did. And then they actually asked me to sing a second song, which I had not planned at all. And basically Katie told me that I reminded her of Alanis Morissette and asked me if I knew any of her songs. And I did know one of them. So I sang Uninvited by her. And I only sang a little bit because honestly, I hadn't prepared it. And I kind of forgot some of the song.
Right.
But so I sang whatever I could remember from it. And then, you know, they seemed happy about it. So I was like, yeah. So that was the last thing they asked me to do. And then they just sort of went down and did their thing.
Well, that's interesting about the second song, because at least what we always see when we watch is like, do you have a second song? And then it's already something you've prepared. But I mean, I guess you wouldn't know either, but like, I wonder how often the judges put you on the spot like that and ask you to sing a specific song by a specific artist. I mean, that's got to be a lot of pressure.
Yeah, they do something different for each person.
Right.
I think some people go in there and they only sing one song and it's either a yes, no, I don't know. And then for some people, I've heard like a lot of people came out of the room and came back downstairs and were like, oh my gosh, they asked me to change the key up 3 steps and I was not ready to sing like that. And I started to worry, oh my God, are they gonna try to get me to sing everything higher too? That's gonna be interesting. But they didn't ask me to do that. They just asked me again to do a song I hadn't even prepared. So they do different things for different people. Yeah.
So how long do you think that it was? I mean, obviously you probably don't know an exact number. How long do you think you spent talking to them beforehand and then after? So kind of like, how long were you in that room total with talking, singing, everything?
It had to be probably 10 minutes or 15 minutes between there. because they ask you, who you are and whatnot. And then you sing, or you sing twice, or you sing a full song. Some people sing full songs. And then they do the whole dramatic, like,
Right.
what is the decision going to be,
Right.
And so that takes some time too. And for me, they made it like dramatic, and we're like, because Katie was the last one, that makes sense. And she was like, I just don't know, and like, do you have do you have the fire in you, like that kind of
Right.
stuff. And I was like, I do, I swear. And then she was like, okay, you made it, yes. And I was like, oh my god. So I think they change it up for each person, who the last judge to
Right.
answer it, or whatever they're gonna do. So
Was there a whole thing where you're telling Katie that she's your idol and you're talking about that, or did that not really come up?
I actually decided before going in there that I wasn't going to tell her that she was my idol, because I didn't want it to change how she acted around me, or like what the decision was. The show, as much as it's about singing and your talent and being a star, it's also about your story and your backstory. So I kind of left out things in my story that could have made it more dramatic, just so I wanted it to be more about my singing and, what I did in that room. So I kind of left that out. And we'll probably get there, but later on in Hollywood Week, I kind of made it more clear. But I wanted the first thing to be like, yeah,
Right.
I'm just here, and I'm not even going to tell her.
Yeah. So then in general, so I guess she doesn't know that she's your idol, but what was her general feedback for you?
She said that, or actually all of them had, I would say, slightly different answers, or, things back to me after I sang. She said she liked my singing, and she thought I had a lot of power and a lot of emotion. And she thought I sounded like Alanis Morissette, or I reminded her, and she likes her. So I was like, okay, that's a good sign. That's a good sign. But she was just seeing, like, she didn't think when I was answering her for all after her comments, and there's two, which I can get into in a second, but I wasn't fighting anything they were saying. I was just like, okay, like that. So her response back to my just simple answers, because I was super nervous. I didn't know what to say back, I'm not gonna like fight the judges, oh my gosh, because they'll give comments to people,
Right.
And their comment to me basically was they weren't sure if my emotion was real or if it was an act, because I got really emotional all of a sudden when I'm singing, and then when I got up, it wasn't really that way. And they were basically like, are you acting, or like, are you really that way? And I was thinking, I'm really that way.
Yeah.
And Luke specifically said he didn't like I really kind of was confused, but I think he was saying he didn't like my breaths, like my after breaths. He thought it was adding to the drama, and he wanted me to like tone it down. So I was like, okay. But I didn't think any of that stuff was like a deal breaker. So I'm like, I think I'm going to be all right. But, those were the comments, basically my breathing and like, is your emotion real? Kind of. That's what. And Lionel really didn't say much at all. He was like, I like this girl.
Yeah.
He was nice to me. I'm not even sure he said anything really that was very critical. He basically said, Luke was the first one to talk. Luke said, those comments. And then Lionel was like, but you know what? I like her. I think she's got it. I like her. I'm saying yes. So, and then, Luke said no, actually. And then Lionel said yes. And then Katie said yes. But she made a whole long, dramatic thing about it, saying like, do you want this? How bad do you want this? I'm like, I swear I've committed my whole life to this. Please.
So when you get kind of a more negative criticism from Luke, does the vagueness from Lionel make you feel better because he's not critiquing you, or do you want more from him because you want to get out as much kind of feedback as you can?
I think Lionel and it's hard because when in that moment you are kind of blacking out, so you not getting every single word correctly. Like when I look back at it, especially because I don't have the footage, um, I just remember him. He might have acknowledged what Luke said and then just said, "But I don't care about that, and I don't think that's a big deal," kind of
Uh-huh.
thing. So like, if somebody, they didn't say this to me, but if somebody has a nasally voice, and Luke comments, "Oh, you have a nasally voice, and I don't really like your voice," I'm saying no, and then Lionel, for example, would say, "I don't care about it being nasally. I like everything else." So I'm saying it was kind of like that.
Uh-huh.
So I think he might have acknowledged that he understood what Luke was saying, but didn't care about that and
I
didn't think it
see.
was a big deal. And then Katie didn't even talk about that. She just was doing the like, do you want this? Like, you don't seem very energetic about this. So that was her comment. So she didn't even reference what Luke said. So
I see.
I don't know.
Okay, well, good news is you got the golden ticket, so that's
Yeah.
exciting. Really quickly, because I'm gonna touch on this when we talk about Hollywood Week, but did you guys know yet about the whole platinum ticket thing? Did they
No.
tell you? No. So you see the thing on the
Well,
wall, but or
so we didn't know, but at the point when I auditioned, I knew about it because Kennedy Anderson
yes.
already got the ticket, the platinum ticket before I even went.
Uh-huh.
So I knew it existed. And actually at that point, we didn't even, everybody after her obviously didn't even
Right.
have a chance to get it in LA. So in a way it was like, oh, well, we can't get it anyway. So
So Kennedy had already gone, so you had seen her
right.
with this silver ticket, and then that's when you kind of figured out, oh, there's this special thing going on.
Yeah. She came downstairs. Actually, we heard her scream upstairs and she was
Oh,
holding this big thing. We're like, what is that?
right,
What even is that?
right,
And then she comes downstairs and we do like the whole clapping thing because, we're all being supportive of each other. We're like, wow,
right.
good for you. That's awesome. And she comes down and everybody's like, what is that? What is that? What is that? And then they're like, oh my God, it's a platinum ticket. That's like, she gets to skip. Actually, we didn't really understand what it meant. I thought we thought it meant that she could skip every round of Hollywood Week and she
Oh,
only made it to top 24, but that wasn't the case. It was just the first round. So yeah, but so we had a little bit of confusion there, but yeah, we were pretty shocked. We had no idea about that.
okay. So yeah, so well, good. So we got through your audition with the judges. That must have been a big weight off your shoulder. I'm sure that was exciting. And after that, you get the ticket, and Hollywood Week's coming up. Now that was early December, yeah, that they filmed that at the Orpheum in Hollywood.
Yes, it was early December. And yeah, was that there? Yep.
And so again, we keep using the word nervous. Now that you've advanced and you're part of the best, are you more nervous? Are you feeling more excited? What's going through your mind?
I think I was more nervous only because now it was a big stage. Well, originally I thought I'd be less nervous. That was my original thought. And then when I got there, I started feeling different. I
Mm,
started feeling that they, weren't interviewing me as much as other people. And I thought maybe this is a bad sign, that things might not go great. And I was just feeling that energy, starting to feel like, oh no. And by the time we actually got to sing, I heard a lot of people go before me, right? I was sitting in the audience, which you can see on the show, me in the audience,
yeah.
but not me singing. But I was sitting there. I listened to probably about half the people, and from the first person who went on, everybody was like, "Okay,
Yeah.
this is going to be tough,"
Yeah.
because I swear, everybody that went on, it seemed like everybody was really good.
Yeah.
And I wasn't sure, in past seasons, you always see people that are just meh, or like more of a joke, especially in the old seasons.
Yeah.
And that wasn't the case. So I was really actually kind of surprised because every single person that went on did their thing. They all went up there and basically crushed their songs. And, you know, watching the lineups get eliminated, when you see who got eliminated, you're like, oh, I don't know now. Like, what's
Right.
going
Good
on?
people
Like,
are going.
to be honest, a lot of good people went. And you can see that through the fact that Tori Kelly got eliminated years
Oh
ago
yeah.
early. She didn't even, and she's great.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of based, and I'll say it again, it's based on your singing. Like, it is based on your singing, but it's also based on what you provide entertainment wise for the show.
Of course.
What's your story?
Yeah.
What's your backstory? How does that fit into what they want to show this year? So it's both. And so when everybody is talented, something's got to give. And I think part of it is also the story, right?
Of course.
So if they think somebody's got a really entertaining energy or look, or they have, you know, really interesting backstory, they're probably, and I have no proof of this, but they're more likely. And I noticed this when I was watching people, you know, that's why I was getting more nervous.
Right.
When I see people getting interviewed, and I'm noticing the people that didn't get interviewed are also the ones that got eliminated. So I'm like, oh no, this is not looking amazing. But you know, there's no way to know for sure. I have no proof of this at all, but there's definitely an element of that in the show. So a lot of people, you know, that were really talented got eliminated in front of my eyes. And actually, a lot of people got eliminated that I thought were definitely going to get through, because I thought, actually, some people that did get interviewed, that I watched get interviewed, got eliminated. And I thought, like, oh, okay, maybe that's not how it works. So it's not, you can't know for sure, but I was just feeling that energy though, you know?
Yeah.
And it was crazy. Like, they cut so many people that first round. I think there were about 150 people there, and I think they cut like 100 people
or
something
goodness.
like that. They cut like 2/3 or something like that. It was a lot. At least half. So
now, similar question about audition day. What is the itinerary, if you will? What happens when you get to the Orpheum, or even just arriving in LA? I don't know how soon you had to get there before filming started, but what was that like?
Yeah, we get there about a day before, so, or something. It's a day or two, and you know, we're in a hotel, and well, COVID, you know, because it was during COVID, this past season, right? Season 20. So, you know, there's extra rules about, you know, not being too close to people, keep your masks on and stuff like that. So, you know, actually that kind of hurt the whole socializing, because I wanted to meet more people than I probably did. I met a good amount, but I could have met more people or been more social if there were less rules, but I get why the rules were there, you know? So yeah. And, you know, they had lunch there and everything like that, but we get there early so that we can do a couple more interviews. As you saw, they had some stars from past seasons show up. So I met Jordan Sparks, and she said that she liked my pants. So it was nice. I was wearing like really decked out sparkly pants. So she was like, I like your pants. And I was like, love you. Thank you so much. But yeah, it was cool. And I didn't meet her, but Haley
Reinhart
was for the R&B, I think, or soul.
I think
and
soul,
I saw her,
mm-hmm.
but I didn't get to talk to her, but I saw her and she looked really good. So
you know, I kind of felt like they didn't show enough of that. I mean, we saw little glimpses.
They did way more than they showed. I'll tell you that much.
Well,
they did a lot.
And so, well, tell me about that experience working with Jordan.
Yeah, so they picked certain people to go sing for her, and so she gave. I think they did show that a little bit, but obviously I've been watching every episode, you know, cheering on the friends, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so a lot of people, or I should say about 5 actually, maybe 5 to 10 people sang for her, and she gave her notes and stuff. But at the end of the day, she sang in front of all of us. And this was like really late in the day, because it takes a long time to record.
Yes.
So. But yeah, so she sang, she did amazing. Only one take, just pro, you know.
One step at a time, right?
Yeah. She nailed it, and everybody was like, "Oh my god," you know.
Yeah.
And I knew who she was because I watched, I've been watching the show a while, but I knew she was also because she did an episode of Sweet Life on Deck when I was
Oh
a
yeah.
kid, and I
Uh-huh.
remember that. But yeah, that was cool, and that was mostly it. And I think that's what every other star that came back did with the genres. There are genres. So
So is this like a day before you even get to the Orpheum stage to film the genre challenge?
right, right. The Orpheum thing happens, yeah, the day after that. So they're doing, they're hyping us up,
Right.
giving us notes before we do our singing.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's basically like what they've done for all the seasons. They called it Lines of 10. The only twist they added a couple seasons ago was now you're getting into a genre. So you pick your genre, you get a lot of people. Any notable names that we might know if we're still watching the season that were in your line?
So my line had a bit of a struggle.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't even know if they ended up airing. Oh yeah, so they aired Thomas. He was
Uh-huh.
wearing an orange shirt in his audition,
Yes.
and he was really sweet. He was really nice. In fact, we got eliminated at the same point, but when we were on the bus afterwards to go back, to the hotel, he was like, I was crying. I was actually crying
Oh.
because I was so sad that I felt like, well, I sang Teenage Dream by
Uh-huh.
Katy Perry, and I was so sad to get eliminated after singing it in front of her. I was so like emotional about doing that, and I was like, oh my god, like my idol rejected me, no. But it was fine. But he was like, oh, don't even worry about that. Like everybody did amazing. It's just a show, and somebody's got to go, and so he was being really sweet. Also, I met they didn't air him, I don't think, but Alphonse, I can't believe they didn't air him though, because he was hilarious. And who else was in my line? I don't honestly, they really didn't air many people from my line. I only had about 8 people in my line.
Uh-huh.
But I met other people, like Dan.
Uh-huh.
He was in the top 20 and further than that, but he's
14.
out now. But
Uh-huh.
he made it really far. He was a really nice guy. It's crazy though. I didn't even hear him sing until the show because I
Yeah.
hadn't heard him sing, and then he sings. I'm like, oh my god, he's so good.
Yeah.
I met Dakota. He got eliminated too, right before the top
And they put
24.
Dan and Dakota together. They made them do a
Yeah,
sing-off. Yeah.
I know. And I was like, I don't know who to root for right
Right.
now.
Yeah. I thought they were
was
going to leave it
like,
up to
oh.
America because they've done that in past seasons where they say, America, you get to vote. We'll tell you live on the next
Yeah,
episode.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, oh my gosh, I couldn't believe it. I think they're both really talented though, so I'm not even gonna touch on that. So
Right.
whatever happens. But yeah, really talented, both of them. And Dakota particularly, because I said I didn't hear Dan sing ever until watching the show back.
Uh-huh.
I did hear Dakota sing in Hollywood, and it sounded amazing. I actually thought he was one of the best ones that I heard that during the day. Like one of them, I thought it was really good. So, you know. But yeah, and I also met Sage, and
Yes.
she made it to the top 24 too. And I think I met Nicolina. I don't know. She liked one of my TikToks the other day, and I was like,
yeah.
oh, thank you, girl. So I was like, I couldn't believe it because I didn't even know. I didn't think I met her, but maybe she recognized me and liked it, or maybe fate. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I met quite a few people that got aired, but those are the main ones that. Oh yeah, and Danielle. She made the top 24 too. Danielle.
Yeah, she was good. I was sad she went home. And
yeah.
Dakota, it's interesting with Dakota and Dan because I feel like they both, like, let's be real, they both probably appeal to like their viewer demographic in terms of like, they know that there's a lot of country fans out there, particularly young girls that are going to vote for like the young country guy. And I was kind of like, this could go either way because Dakota, he's a young kid, he's very relatable. I remember his audition, they show him like he's farming, and then Dan, he's like a footballer turned TikTok sensation. So I think they probably had a tough decision, but kind of surprised that they both aren't still there. But now they've got a lot of country power because you got Noah, you got Hunter Girl, Mike just went home, but but country singers always tend to go far. So
yeah, I've noticed that. One last year, so
I know.
Yeah,
Okay, wait. So back to genre challenge. So is that the round that you're cut?
it is. Unfortunately, it is. Yeah.
Are they are they giving you a lot of feedback, or is it more of just like a, you're going home, you're going home?
It's more like that.
Okay.
In the audition, they were more, talkative, but it happens right away when they cut
Right.
you, basically. Your line goes, everybody goes in your line, and maybe another line will go too before
Hmm.
they call up, you know, the lines.
Right.
This might sound confusing if you don't know it, so it's
Right.
confusing. But basically, I had my line, and there was also like maybe another line and another line, and they call all the lines individually up after they all go,
Right.
and then they cut you.
Right.
Basically, they say step forward, whatever.
Yeah.
And,
Are you in the, I'm just
unfortunately,
curious, were you in the forward or the back line?
I was in the back.
Okay.
They actually cut almost every single person from my line.
Wow.
So
Uh,
yeah, they cut the only one they didn't air really anybody except for Thomas in my line, but
okay.
they cut they only kept two people from my line, and there
Uh-huh.
were like I think they cut six of us and kept two, something like that.
Okay.
So it was pretty rough. It was pretty
Yeah.
rough.
I'm actually talking to Alphonse right now about him coming on this show, so that should
He
be
is
exciting.
great. Okay. He is so funny. You're gonna love him. Like, I couldn't believe they didn't air him at least. Like
Yeah.
he was one of the people that didn't get cut actually in my line.
Okay.
So he made it to the next round, and he was so funny. So funny. And his
Hmm.
outfits.
Yes.
Perfect.
I think they might have montaged him in the auditions. I can't remember,
I
but we
think they
didn't.
did.
We did. That would make sense. It sounds like he's a character, but I
He
guess you
definitely
didn't get
is. He is.
the full story. I also am wondering on TV they make it look very fast that the judges deliberate, and I'm sure it takes longer. About how long do you think does it take them to actually make those decisions?
So if I sang, uh, you have to wait for the whole line to finish.
Right.
So that takes time in and of itself. And then you have to wait for another line or two to finish, right? So basically, we're talking about, let's say, 8 times 3,
Uh huh.
right? So about 24 people to sing, right?
Right.
Hope my math is right. And yeah, that's a lot of time, right? So, that's at least, that's a lot of singing, actually. So
Yeah.
that's about an hour or so, because we're not singing full songs. We're
Hmm.
singing half. We're only doing a minute, right?
Okay.
So it's like I'd say it's about an hour until you actually hear what, and also depends on when you go. Because if you're the last line, before they just do their next decision making time,
Right.
because they section it off so
Uh
that it
huh.
makes it easier for them to remember like who did what.
Right.
And so if you're like literally the last one to go in the last line, then for you it only takes like what 5-10 minutes to hear your
Right.
result. But for me, I was kind of in the middle. So yeah, it depends kind of.
And then as far as the judges actually talking amongst themselves about what to do, that in itself, is that a quick process? Do they seem to take their time?
I'd say it was kind of quick.
Uh-huh.
It was about, I don't know, maybe like 5-10 minutes of them actually talking to each other.
Right.
More like 5.
Okay.
It was not that slow, honestly. In fact,
Hmm.
I would have thought maybe it would take a little longer, but they
Uh,
probably had notes that
right.
they wrote down and probably had already ideas in their mind about what they were gonna say. So
Are any producers like, I mean, I'm sure everybody has their own theories about whether or not they're involved in the decision making, but are they there? Does the producer step up to the desk and watch the judges?
yeah, they're there,
Yeah.
but I have no idea what they're saying over there. It's
Right.
all quiet. There's no mics on. You can't hear
Right,
anything.
of course.
But the theory, I mean, this is all totally I have no idea.
Of
No
course.
idea. But if I had to guess, I would say the producers might have said something or might have had some kind of say, but I really don't know because, you know, I mean, I know they're there the whole day listening to everybody too. They
Right.
know who's been interviewed. They know what's going on. What's the story? I
Right.
don't know if the judges remember all the stories or not. So
Uh-huh.
for them, that's probably some kind of factor because again, the story and the singing,
Right.
you got to cut somebody. So
Right.
it could be that the producer has something to say, but I couldn't say for sure. No, I don't know.
Yeah. And I don't know how much or how much the contestants are really I mean, you guys are artists. You don't necessarily know the TV business, but when you're there, I don't know how aware you are of like how the production process works and who's in charge and like do you know the producers well and who does what or
I really had no idea what was going on. Like,
yeah.
I would say like there's staff members all over the place, right?
Right.
But I don't, except for the head producer,
Is that
I
Megan?
don't know.
Megan Michaels
Yeah,
Wolflett?
I never met her. Honestly, I
Okay.
never met her. I think that's the one that probably talked to I really don't know actually, but
Yeah, yeah.
she's probably the one that probably talked to the judges. I'm not sure. But yeah, and I only knew the one that works with the stage,
Okay.
and that was Patrick. And I
Yeah,
don't
he's
remember
been
who
there
left.
like forever.
He's been there
Yeah.
forever and whatever. But he was really nice. But making sure everybody's,
Right.
doing what they need to do. So
I actually heard there was an when Idol finished on Fox, they did like a little documentary back when it was going to be the final season, and they had a lot of the producers on screen for the documentary. And actually, Jordan Sparks had talked about her experience in Hollywood Week and said, when you get there, Patrick's always the first one who always like gives you your marching orders and makes
yep,
sure you know where to be. And if he's been there since day one, he probably knows that thing so well. You
yep.
know, yeah, Megan, I would think she's the one that's going to the judges because she's the showrunner. I think
Mhm.
it's
It
kind
was
of,
a girl, but I
yeah,
don't I don't know. See, I don't know. I
right.
didn't I think some people did know, but I didn't know. Maybe
Yeah.
other people know, but
I mean,
I
I
never
gotta,
actually met her myself. That's why I don't
right.
know.
I gotta figure, I mean, you guys are just focused on doing your songs,
Yeah,
but
we're like stressed. I'm
oh,
like
yeah.
crying. Like I can't even see that far, honestly. I
Right.
got bad eyesight.
Oh, no. Yeah. I mean, I'm like a reality TV fanatic, so I kind of study all the behind the scenes elements
Yeah,
and
I can see that. You know all the
yeah,
well, not all because you weren't there, but as much as you can know, you seem to
right.
know.
Well,
So
what I actually think is kind of neat is that, I mean, again, I mean, you don't know, nor do I know like how the whole operation works behind the
right.
scenes, but Megan started on the show second season as like live shows as like an assistant producer, just like, getting things for people and doing whatever. And
Mhm.
then on the reboot, she became one of the co-showrunners, and there was another lady, Trish, who retired last year, and now Megan's the sole showrunner. So I think it's kind of neat that she kind of worked her way up over almost 20 years, and now she's
Yeah.
running the whole thing. Again, you guys don't really probably you're probably not involved in like how everything operates behind the scenes, but I mean, producers make the show. I mean, they have the power to choose which of you guys are on screen. They construct the
Yeah.
whole story. So I mean, it really is a machine.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, there were a lot of people. I mean, think about it like this. There were at least 300 people that auditioned in front of the judges, right?
Right.
But they only aired like what? I think I counted, it was something around between like 50 and 60. That's like nothing.
Right.
It's like a sixth of the people, that
I
actually got
know.
aired.
I
It's
know.
crazy. So most of us didn't get aired.
Right.
The ratios are crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. If you made it to Hollywood Week, you're talented. So it's like you know that you did something right, and then I imagine that for you guys, it's kind of like at the end of the day, it's about that story, and so whoever kind of I guess fits the producer's mold of what they want to do this season is who's going to get the most screen time. But I mean, gosh, that must just still be such an amazing experience to be there and get the time, just learning from the judges and meeting other musicians. I'm sure that you still walk away with so much, even if you don't actually make it on screen.
Yeah. I think, one note about the story thing is that sometimes people have a very similar story. And, sometimes if you have the same exact story to somebody or very, very similar, they might like choose one of them. So that can happen too. But yeah, it was amazing, honestly. And meeting people that want to do what I want to do and are
Yeah.
very serious about it. I mean, you have a range of people. You have some people that, just started singing and they just love singing. And then you have some people that are doing it for many years and they go out and they gig all the time and they release their own music. So it's a range. And sometimes they're really young and they're like 15 years old. And
Right.
you're like, okay, you just started, and you can tell too. But yeah, I think it was really cool to see all the different stages and what different people, do with their lives with the same love for music.
Right.
Because some people make it their job and some people make it their hobby and want to make it their job. And this is a way to make that happen.
Right.
And what I love about Dakota is like I think he's only like 17, right?
Yeah.
And I've seen his Instagram because we follow each other, and he's like seems to be gigging all the time. I think that's so awesome at such a young age to be like, I'm gonna just keep gigging and keep moving. I don't care if I got eliminated, you know. It's a good thing, and I do the same. But it's really cool to see what people do and also see amazing people sing. Like when I was in Hollywood Week, you know, because we don't get to see each other audition, but in Hollywood Week, and we get to see everybody or most people perform, depending on when you get eliminated and when you go. Because if you're the first person to get eliminated, you're out and you don't see anybody.
Right.
But I saw a lot of people, and it was really cool to see all these different genres. In fact, I'm not even a country girl. I don't even listen to country music really, but after watching the country lines like go and perform, honestly, I became a country girl. Like,
oh yeah,
they were so good. And I'd never even seen like somebody do country music live in front of me before. So it was really cool. Like, you get to also appreciate different genres watching everything.
You get sent home. I mean, it's a hard pill to swallow. That's obvious. But I mean, what are you feeling in that moment? Is it bittersweet because of what you've gained, or is it just kind of suck because you're going home?
I think it's an immediate feeling of, and actually I knew I was going to get eliminated when I was on that stage because Katie was the one reading out the names, and I feel like she looked at everybody but me. I think she felt bad. Like I could tell she like felt really bad about what she was about to do.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, I think she's gonna eliminate me now. but like, you know, it really hurt. I was crying. Yes. It hurt specifically because she is an artist that talks about inspiration and like being powerful and go for your dreams kind of thing, and you know, female empowerment songs and stuff like that. And so for her to say no to me, I was like, no, but you told me I'm a firework though.
Oh.
But it's fine. Like I don't hold anything against her, you know, but you know, she's still, you know, that girl for me, you know.
Yeah.
But you know, I was definitely hurt. I was sad. I was crying. They ask you afterwards. You basically like leave your theater and go outside, and they ask you like, how was your experience and what are you gonna do now, kind of thing, and then you like answer, and I was like, I'm gonna keep pushing forward, you know. I got big dreams. It's just
as it's hard to not like cry as they're asking you these questions. You know,
I was really bummed that day. Like that day, that was my day where I was like, I said to my parents, guys, I'm just going to be so sour today. That's it, you know? But no, it was fine. I got some ice cream. It's all good. You know, I got some pizza and I just cried. And then I woke up the next day and I took a flight home, back to Connecticut. And I knew I had gained a lot though. So by the next day, I was like, you know what? This was great. I got a lot of experience. I met my idol. Not only did I meet my idol, honestly, I met, you know, the other judges too, and Ryan Seacrest. And that's a big deal. That's so cool to say. Like, that's at least it's a cool story at a minimum, you know? I also had, you know, a lot of people in my family and my friends and my town excited.
Yeah.
Because they, you know, they know who I am because, you know, I play around, I gig, and I also, you know, I'm known in my high school. I was known as like, oh, she's the one that sings, like she's the music girl. But I had something more tangible for them to be excited about, more than just like, oh, I have this new song coming out, and it's like, oh, cool, she has a new song. It's really hard to get people to listen to your music and take you seriously without something happening first. It always seems like the chicken or the egg. It's like, okay, but nothing can happen first if, you know, you don't get those first people to listen. So, you know, it was something where I told people that I had auditioned and I couldn't tell them, what happened, but I told them my audition and you should watch the show
Right.
because they didn't tell me they're not going to air me. I have to wait and see.
Right.
And I got people excited.
Yeah.
And I had more people follow me. Actually, when I first auditioned for the show, I had like 2,000 followers, maybe a little under that. And all of a sudden, after I posted that I was going to be on American Idol, maybe,
Right.
I started to notice like the algorithm was picking up for me, and I had more people follow me. I went up to like over 14,000 people now over the course of the last like 8 months or so. And that was crazy. And it wasn't necessarily because of Idol, it's because I was posting and stuff.
Right.
But it felt like too ironic that the day after I posted that, all of a sudden my reels on Instagram started to work.
Right.
And I was like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So and that ended up being a thing that I kind of credit American Idol for. It's hard to know for sure, but I think so.
There's probably a correlation.
And, yeah, I think there was because that post ended up going to the explore page and more people saw it. Right. I think it opened up some kind of new algorithm for me that like, oh, people care about this person's profile. Let's show her, So, even if you don't get aired, you can still potentially gain something from it.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like I did. And even when I told my whole family and my friends and, everybody that followed me, that I got the ticket, the love that I received, regardless of winning, whatever, but the love I received and the new belief in people was really, really nice. And it's a real thing that I did. Like that was hard. That was really hard to get a ticket because again, even in the auditions, everybody really could sing.
Oh yeah.
So, and even before that, I think roughly 100,000 people auditioned this year and only 300 or so made it to see the judges. And that is a huge deal even to see the judges. Forget getting a ticket. Seeing the judges is a really hard thing to even get to that point. And I was really happy just to even get there. Like that was so cool. And I need to frame it. I need to frame my ticket, but I don't have it framed yet. It's got to go on the wall, I have my college degree, but honestly, my golden ticket might be my most like prized achievement or whatever.
American Idol University. That's you got undergrad from Berkeley, and then grad school in Hollywood.
Exactly. I feel like that was my most proud achievement. Like it took so much bravery for me to even audition in the first place because I didn't want to I figured I don't have this crazy story about my life. I'm just a girl who was shy and, had, trouble reading. I had to wear a back brace because I had scoliosis and I had surgery on my back. So I have 2 rods and these are the things that I told Idol, but I didn't have like this big sob story because I'm just me, I'm just a girl who loves music and has a passion for it. And I love singing and I put my emotion into it, but I don't even know what I'm saying anymore now.
Well, you led me to hit on 2 things. One is American Idol, it has always and will always be about what you just said, the story of a girl from Connecticut who's just gigging around town, who is who really puts her all into it. And it gives you this stage. I mean, at the end of the day, if you're a musician, playing music in itself is great, but it's all these people throughout the country that are paying their dues and they're gigging and they're writing, they're producing, whatever it is. And you get that opportunity to shine. And it doesn't matter, I think, if you place first, if you place 10th, or if you don't even get aired, because it's about what you feel inside. It's about that sense of accomplishment. And to be a part of this iconic cultural phenomenon, which again, 20 years on is going so strong. I mean, I think that, like you said, there's a reason you got to frame that ticket because it's it's such a big deal. And then the other point I want to make is, I think it was really interesting hearing you talk about, not choosing to kind of dig deeper into your story. And, and I don't think that that's what this show is about either. But I do want to mention, just on a personal note, I've got a lot of like learning disabilities, and I've actually recently thought a lot about it. I always struggled in school, ADD. I had to start vision therapy recently because I found out that I have double vision, and I think it's called
Hmm.
monocular disparity. My eyes like don't work together, and it's become this big discovery of why reading has always been such a hard thing for me. Um, but I mean, I'm not a musician, but I mean, you are, and being an artist, like at the end of the day, I feel like all the vulnerability that we feel from the things that hold us back, especially in a world where doctors and lawyers and going to these Ivy League schools and accomplishing these things that are on traditional paths, which, hey, not to knock that, that's great, but bringing music into the world, that's such a big important thing that we all need. um,
Right.
and I'm very honored to get to interview musicians because I feel like, we all have stories, and regardless of our paths in life, music at the end of the day is an integral part of our culture, and that's a special thing to be able to make music, and to not only have this platform like American Idol, but just to get to continue to, build on that fan base and to continue to share music. And you don't know where this path is going to take you. So I imagine that as an artist who's had this, amazing thing happen to you by being on the show, you're just probably excited about the future and what's next.
Yeah, totally. And honestly, yeah, I relate to the reading thing, and that was a big thing for me because I have dyslexia, or I worked really hard to, try to get rid of it. But and I did. I mean, I'm a lot better at a reader now, but I really don't like reading. And when it came to when I was younger and I did auditions for anything that had any kind of acting in it, like plays or anything like this, I could never get the part for the big singing moment because I couldn't read the lines for the acting.
Right.
I had a really hard time with that, but it helped me gain better memory.
Uh-huh.
So I would, instead of reading, I would listen to the radio and I would try to remember all the words, remember
Uh-huh.
like what I'm hearing. And I think, back to the other point you were saying, like musicians, it is so hard to commit to the idea that you want to be a musician because it's so hard to keep getting up every day and being like, okay, I don't have a fan base yet. I'm not rich and famous. This is going to
Right.
be really hard to get people to listen to this song that I care so much about and that I put all of my heart into without, this big promotional, budget where I can just, put $1 million into this promotion for this video and song and have people automatically listen and love it because it's such high quality. It is, most musicians are stuck with the fact that you're not famous yet, so you need to somehow get people to listen, and it's really hard because you want it to just be about the music, you want it to
Right.
be about the love
Right.
of music and what it can do and how it can heal people. But the reality is that if you don't promote it and you're not like, you don't, or you don't have a following yet or whatever it is so hard to get people to listen. And it leaves you with like, oh no, am I supposed to get a real job now, or like a
No,
one that can
yeah.
pay me because I can't get money from this? So it's a tough thing. And especially, as an independent artist myself, like I struggle with that. But I think it's still the beginning. Right now, I'm 20. I am, you know, doing my thing. I had my most successful song so far. It just hit 22,000 streams today. So I'm like, okay, sick.
Yeah.
And I had like, but more than the streaming, because that's, a lot of people use fake numbers. I don't do it. I just let it be what it's going to be. And that's actually a big problem that's happening because it's so hard to get people to listen to your music. A lot of people are paying for like fake streams. So that creates a whole other issue. But basically, I am so proud to see that people are re-listening to the song.
Uh-huh.
Like I think my average is only like 4,000 people actually, individuals actually heard my song, but they keep replaying it.
Right.
And I'm like, that is so awesome. I'm like, that's what makes me more excited, that it's touching somebody where they saved it and they actually put it in their playlist. And I can see that in the numbers because you can see it. But it's just, that's the cool part, that I am touching people. I am, being part of their day and helping them through whatever they need to go through. And it's so hard to get to that place without the big budget and stuff. But Idol
Right.
can help people too. That's the
Yeah.
other great thing. If
Yeah.
you make it to the top, a lot of these people now, they're starting to get 30,000 followers or
Right.
50 or 80 or whatever. I think Kennedy, she dropped out, but she has like 160 or something thousand followers. That's like a big deal. Like
Yeah.
that's super helpful. And I'm friends with, or I shouldn't say I'm friends with Grace from last season, but I was a classmate of
Oh
Grace's.
yeah, she went to
She
Berkeley,
was from
right? Yeah.
Berkeley, and I totally had talked to her before. And actually before I even knew what happened with her on the show, I had heard she was going to do it. I said, oh my gosh, good luck, you're totally going to get it. And there she gets third. I'm like, exactly,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. But I think she released a song or something. It's got like a lot of streams and things going on, and that would have been really, really hard without Idol giving her a platform to help that. Or even Fritz, he just said that his
Oh my
album,
God, number one.
whatever, yeah, like what? Like
Yeah.
that's so crazy. And that probably wouldn't have been possible, at least not at this point,
Right.
without Idol giving him that boost where people can see him. So, I've thought about it. I'm like, man, would I do a show again like this? Would I audition again just to, to try again, get in front of more people, get in front of, America? And maybe, I don't know.
Never know.
We'll see.
A few things. Number one, I'm one of those people that stream the song multiple times because ever since you sent it to me, and we're gonna play it at the end here, it is. I'll wait till we talk about it to say how I feel about it, but it really, trust me, I'm one of those people that I play it and I play it again. As I totally relate about the independent artist thing as a podcaster because I'm an independent podcaster. Like it's hard to get people to listen. Oh my God, it's like, what do you do? Like it's so fulfilling, and then it's hard when you care about numbers and then you see the numbers and they're not what you thought they could be. The other thing, I feel like I'm probably gonna tell this story every other episode of this podcast, but I don't know if you watch Leah this season. Leah Marlene. I went to Belmont University with her. I was there. So I'm 21 now. We both actually dropped out from that school, and her whole story was about dropping out. But freshman year, I signed up for Intro to Songwriting. Now, I'm not a musician. I sing for fun. I've written a couple of songs. I sang in my high school band, and it's like somewhat of a hobby. I didn't realize on day one that I thought it was an elective for anybody who was just interested in music. I should have known if I'm in Nashville, Tennessee, that I'm going to be in a class with music and songwriting majors, and I'm like, oh shit, like I'm with the people that know how to do this, and I've got to act like I'm good, So, and that there's a lot of stories about how that it was there were some hard moments in that class being up against them, but Leah was in that class. And I carpooled in a group with her to class because it was like not directly on the campus. So I've been in this girl's car, I have her phone number, all that stuff. And she performed one day and I'm like, this girl's got it. Like she is, out of all the people in this class, she's like a star. Like she had that steel in her eyes. So then seeing her on the show, I was like, whoa, I feel kind of like cool that I predicted that someone was like really good and now here they are on American Idol and now she's killing it, top 7. And I'm rooting for her. I think she's really good. So.
Yeah, Maya, my sister is too. She loves Leah. It's her favorite. I think she's gonna make at least top 3.
Oh yeah, Leah, Fritz, and I would prefer the other spot to go to Nicolina, but I think it's going to Hunter Girl just because the followers are up there. She's popular.
I personally think Nicolina would be my winner.
Yeah.
Girl, if you're watching this.
Yeah.
I think it's hard to say because they all are talented and have different voices.
Yeah.
But the most in my lane of what I would listen to would probably be Nicolina, but I think Fritz and Leah are, that you actually named the exact 3 that I was just saying last night to my parents. Like, I think those are going to be top 3, at least my top 3. Yeah.
That's my top 2. But you know what? This season's been really interesting because I remember every year, at least since they've been on ABC, they always have the judges' picks to add to the top 10. Like they did 10 to get through from America, and then the judges pick 4. And every year, those people that are picked by the judges just get home the next week because, you know, they were not in America's Top. But then to see Mike and Jay, who, well, Mike just got eliminated, but if the fact that people who originally did not get through based on America's Vote are now doing well, I mean, Jay's gotten like through 3 more rounds, so now it's starting to look
Yeah.
different than it has, and you never know. This show surprises
Yeah.
you. I was
Yeah.
shocked when Dan went
Could have
home.
just had an off night,
Yeah,
and or people just happened to not vote for him that night and assumed he would get votes or something.
right.
And then they, when they realized, oh, we have to actually vote, maybe that kicked in. I don't know, but
Right.
yeah.
But also this whole coast to coast thing, it's like the people that don't watch it live miss out. So you don't know how many votes you would have
Yeah,
gotten.
my dad was saying that because he knows Ava maybe,
Yes.
or his mom. He knows her mom.
Okay.
So because they grew up together in Loomis, California, and he was saying, oh, but Ava's obviously going to get eliminated tonight because they're not airing it to where her fan base is.
Right.
Because in California, like, they're not going to see it yet. And of course, that night she gets eliminated, right? So it's, maybe it's a factor. I don't know.
Well,
I don't know,
I
because
mean,
I'm an East Coaster. So for me,
right.
it's like, oh, I keep seeing it right on time. So I don't know. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I mean, it technically airs in the West, but most people aren't going to watch TV at 5 o'clock.
Yeah, it's fine.
Especially,
Yeah.
I could not believe it's one thing. I get the Sunday thing because it's like people are home, but they did a live coast to coast show last Monday. Now I'm a super fan.
Right.
I'm going to watch that, but who on the West Coast that has a job is going to get home at 5 o'clock to vote for their favorite American Idol? It just isn't going to happen. So,
Right.
but, at the end of the day, I think it kind of goes back to what we talked about, which is whether you make top 3, whether you make top 24, or whether you don't make it on there at all. It's the experience and the exposure where at the end of the day, what you gain from it probably outweighs what place you finished. I mean, of course you
And
want to get as far as
advice.
you can, but yeah.
Yeah, the advice too. I mean, the thing is the things they said to me, it's not an uncommon thing I've heard for myself. When you're, in my case, I've put myself out there many times to get judged. So I hear things back from people, especially on the internet, right? And actually these days I hear way less comments because I've been improving and trying to work on the things that I hear. Although sometimes they're just trolling and they're being mean and they're just ridiculous comments. And other times there's something to think about. So I remember when I was 17, I auditioned for The Voice and was in the second round of before you even get to the judges thing, right? And I sang, and he said to me, you have everything, but you need to pick your moments when you're singing, because you're on the whole time and being like, essentially being belting and emotional the whole time. And you need to pick your moments to do that, and other times be softer and maybe more gentle, or like bring them in, and then blow them away. And that really changed me because at the time I was like, what is he saying? I don't even know what he's saying, right? And then I went home and I thought about it, and I was like, oh, okay, I think he might be right about this. And it took me, a couple of years. And even when I started posting covers to the internet, you can get people don't care about you. They're going to tell you what they think.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So sometimes I would get people telling me, well, first of all, let me just say 95 or more % of the comments I've gotten are really positive. But on the ones that are negative, I heard things like, don't scream at me. Like that kind of thing. Or like, you're overdoing it. Right. So, or are you acting or whatever, it could be anything. I don't know. But so to hear Luke talk about that and say, specifically hit on like, are you overdoing it? Is this what you really are? Was like, it hurt a little bit in my heart, because I was like, I've been trying to work on this.
Oh yeah.
And I have been. And even since then, because think about it, that was like more than 6 months ago. So I've been working on it even more as we speak. Even now, I'm still continuing to try and improve what I would call overdoing it, basically. Or, that's a habit. It's hard to get rid of habits, especially when you're auditioning. And in that moment, every habit will come out. But yeah, it's a learning process, and you get your no's and you get your yeses. And I got a no from The Voice, and then I got a yes from Idol a few years later after I worked hard, kept practicing. And I don't think I would have gotten a yes if I hadn't gotten that earlier no that let me know I need to start working on this kind of thing, because I probably would have been even more crazy and over the top
Right.
on that audition. Because honestly, they were like, they didn't think I was that crazy or anything like that. They were just like, it was like more of a like a little comment thing. It wasn't like that was crazy. That was way over the top. It was like, that was that over. They were like not sure, which is a very different reaction than before, which was like, you're over the top.
Right.
So I definitely have been improving it and stuff. And in my Hollywood week, I did Teenage Dream, but I did it very differently than the original version. I did it softer. I did it almost as a ballad, and it was very sweet, which was really different for something I would have never been able to achieve that if I hadn't been working all those years. So with no's comes learning. Learning is very important. And I have more learning to do. I mean, I didn't
Right.
make it. So obviously there's more learning to do, right? But, it's that's priceless, figuring out and having people tell you that are pros, tell you, maybe you should work on this. That's a big deal. So,
Well, I think that's so important for singers to hear, because if any singers are listening to this and they have experienced to know, and they might be feeling like they don't want to keep going, or some people unfortunately give up after their first no,
yep.
you're living proof that, like, no, I mean, you got the no from The Voice, you made it onto American Idol, and even though you got another no, now you're continuing to work and you're seeing the progress, you're seeing what's happening with your streaming numbers, and it's like, keep going. Just
Yeah.
anything in life, if you're feeling down, just keep freaking going, because you can get there.
Yeah, and even with my college experience, if you're a musician listening and you're trying to audition to go to a certain college and get into a program, then you might notice you have to actually sing for them in an audition. And it's very similar to having to audition for a TV show, in a sense that you're really stressed out and you have to perform in that moment or you're not getting it.
Yeah.
So I had to audition for a lot of colleges. Some were video auditions, but not all of them. And I actually got rejected. I did make it into Belmont, but I didn't end up going. But I got rejected from several colleges after auditioning. And specifically, I will mention my Florida University of Miami audition. I was awful. I bombed it. Okay. I had to actually start over singing, and I am
Oh,
not
wow.
like that as a person. I do not start over. I don't do that. But it was going so awful. I actually started over, and I didn't get it. And then the week later, I had to audition for Berkeley,
Mm.
and I was like, I am not bombing this one. I walked in there. I did the best I've ever done. Honestly, I walked out of there and I said to my mom, I'm getting a scholarship. Not only am I getting in, I'm getting a scholarship. And I got a 50% scholarship. And I was
Wow.
like, I knew
Wow.
it, but that does not mean, like, you can get rejected. You get no. I got literally every other college I went to, I got every single one was a no. I'm serious. Because I wasn't being myself when I went in there. I was too nervous. I was letting all these things ruin it. And then I go into my Berkeley audition, and I was like, I'm not ruining this one. This one is going to happen. Okay.
Yeah.
And it was the last one I had to do too. Like, it was the last one, and it worked out. And that just goes to show you can get rejected from every single thing except for one thing. And that could be your thing. And as an artist, I even know actresses. I know a couple like people that do acting, and there's so many no's, and it's really hard to deal with that, especially if you give up before you get your yes. And
Right.
that's the thing. You can't give up before you get your yes. You're never gonna know. Like, if I was like, oh, I got rejected for The Voice, I'm never gonna audition for any kind of TV show ever again. Like, what about all the growth that could happen in between? That
Right.
might not be the answer next time. I mean, yeah, if you've done it like a million times and there's no improvement, and like they just keep saying the same thing. Okay, maybe, maybe it's not working, whatever. You could, but even with that, I would say don't stop loving music and doing music.
Right.
Maybe think about a different like career path, but don't stop music. I think that's a mistake. People love music.
They
If you're a
do.
musician, you're a musician, and
Oh yeah.
it will never go away. It just makes you sad if you stop.
Oh
I've tried to quit. I
yeah.
can't quit, man.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, so okay, so yeah, I mean you are a musician and everybody that we're going to talk to on the show is a musician. So I would love to hear a little bit more about what's out now, what you're currently working on. And we'll talk about the specific song Tug of War in just a moment, but just in general, what's kind of new and exciting? What's going on?
So in the last year, I had released a lot of singles that I made myself. Like I produced it, I wrote it, I sang it, the whole thing. But I had released a song this past March called Tug of War, and it was a song that I wrote about a person, and it's technically true. I don't go into super details of my life about my singing, but
yes,
it's about basically somebody that is not treating you right, and basically trying to bring you down, and you won't accept that anymore, and you leave, and you're just like, I'm out of here. I don't want you anymore.
Yeah.
No. And
awesome.
that was my message with that song. And I had somebody else produce it this time. My new single that I'm working on right now, I'm doing myself. But this past one was done by, I can't remember his last name, so you can cut that idea.
I wrote. Let me see. I think I had it in my notes. Let me check.
Dave, but I can't remember his last name right now.
Crap! I'm like, where's my?
It's like Davis
show. Oh, I even, you know what I did? I knew I wouldn't be able to pronounce it, so I did like I did the dashes. Show and Wetter.
Show and Wetter.
Or who knows if that's how you pronounce it, but David, that's how it looked. I mean, I don't remember how it was spelled, but anyway, yeah.
I don't know. I wish I knew.
Yeah.
But yeah, should I just say Dave?
Let's call him Dave. Dave the man.
Yeah. I had my song Tug of War produced by Dave. I found him on Sound Better. He's great. He did a great job. And I released it, and this time I released it to having some people because I had gained more followers. And I started, there was a clear difference. I saw like people actually were listening to it. Mm-hmm. Very That's shocking. if you're a musician or a podcaster or anything creative where you have to get people to actually like you or like the topics or whatever to listen, it's really hard to get people to do it. And I was posting it like all over my page, all over my Facebook, all over, my Instagram, all over my stories every single day. So it's been, getting streams, and it's very exciting, honestly. And I also, I did, think, I don't know if these people are really going to listen to it, because sometimes Instagram, the algorithm, it might not show it to everybody, and it doesn't. In fact, for me personally, and if you're somebody struggling with the whole Instagram algorithm right now, I'll tell you, it's rough for all of us. But, I have 14,000 people, right? And my posts only get seen by about 3,000 of them. So that means that's like that's like 11,000 people that they don't even know that I released a song. So what I've been doing is I started to actually DM people that follow me and tell them that I have a song.
Oh, cool.
So that's another way. Like, don't be afraid to basically direct message people and get them to, like, they're following you for a reason.
Right.
They're following you because they wanted to see what's next. They want to see the journey, or they think you're really cool, whatever it is. And they like what you do. So, they actually want to know. So I found that when I DM them, a lot of them had no idea I released a song. And then they go listen and they add it to their playlist and stuff like that. So that's definitely a strategy that I would recommend. So that's something I did. But that's just goes to show you got to work for it. You got to work for it. Unless you have a huge budget, which most people don't have. So
right. it's
Yeah,
all like it's like it's just sales like that, I
it
mean, it's
is. It is.
telemarketing. It's like, I mean, that was like my process for this show. It's like, okay, I have my list of people that I found. I'm gonna DM them. I'm gonna see who says yes, who says no, and if you get lucky, a couple people say yes. And I got lucky, and you never know. And I think that that's a good point because people follow you, and yeah, we all follow a lot of people, but if we remember hitting that follow button in the first place and then we get a DM from the person, they're going to think, oh, okay, so I must have liked their music. Or, oh, yeah, she was that girl who said she was on American Idol, or she's that girl who had this song out and I really liked it. So now you're going to tell them, keep following, see what this next song is. And then you don't have to DM them anymore because the next time you put out a song, they're following you, they know you. And, I bet that's just the
Right.
hustle.
Yeah, and even with you reaching out to me, for me, I get a lot of DMs, but I usually don't reply. I don't trust because there's a lot of scams out there.
Oh, yeah.
But my mom is like a good researcher, so she's like, okay, who's this?
Yeah.
So she found you and she's like, this guy looks credible, let's do it. And I'm like, okay, cool. If you make it also clear like that you're being professional, if your page looks professional, if you have stuff on the internet where you can clearly see, okay, this person is real, this is professional. Like for me, when I send people my song, they know they can click and be like, oh yeah, I know who this is. She has a website. She does her thing. This is very clear that this is somebody who does music. I'm not afraid to click this link and
Right.
go listen to her song.
Right.
If I didn't have that trust, it's a lot harder to get people to listen.
So you're DMing people and you're telling them to listen to Tug of War. Tug of War, if I may say so myself, it's a damn good song. And I think that the lyrics come through because you explain what it meant and it's something we can all relate to, definitely. But that melody is killer. And once it hits that chorus,
Thank
it's
you.
just like, so what's your writing process? I mean, you have a concept, but what's it like for you?
I always start with a melody.
Yes.
I like it to be catchy because I do pop music. It's
Right.
not the same for every genre, but pop music's pretty catchy genre.
Yeah.
So I start there. For me, I started with play inside a boy. Like
Yeah.
that is the first thing I came up with
Right.
before. And then I was like, oh, huh, that's kind of interesting. I've never even
Yeah.
heard a song called Tug of War. I mean, it could be
Right.
out there, but I never heard it before. And I started thinking like, okay, what could that mean? What does that mean? And then I started thinking about my own life and I was like, oh, this person is just toxic.
Yeah.
I'm so, and it actually is true because it's a true story because I really do. When I say something, when I'm decide this person is not good for me, I'm going to leave. I mean it. And I really do. And I actually think a lot of people need to do that because you can't just stay with people that make you feel bad. Like you
Right.
can't have people saying, oh, whatever it is, just downing you all the time. That's just not good. So I think it's an important message. And I think that needed to be clear. So I was like, okay, I'm going to write an empowerment song. It's sort of an empowerment, sort of like it's funny. It's assumed maybe that it's a romantic thing. It's all assumed though, because I don't actually say anything about a relationship, like a love interest. There's no love. I don't actually say any of that. So it's kind of could be interpreted. It could be a boss, or like it could be like literally your boss isn't treating you right, and you're like, I'm cool. I quit.
Yeah.
Because being vague can be helpful in pop music to make it more like approachable for everybody.
Right.
And even when I listen to the song, I'm the writer, but I apply it to multiple things anyway. It could be romance. It could be a
Right.
boss. It could be a friend. I don't even know. It could be anybody. But yeah, I like to write empowerment stuff, which makes sense because I said Katie is one of the big influences for me. And so I wrote the lyrics and the melody, and then for me, chords are last. And I had the concept of what I kind of wanted it to sound like. So I wrote a demo I use Pro Tools and I use Logic, and I made the demo and I recorded the vocals and everything. And then I was like, okay, at the time I didn't want to produce it myself. I wanted somebody else to do it. So I called up, or I didn't call up, I messaged Dave from Sound Better, and we ended up working together, and basically he helped make the track and everything, and it all came together, and I was like, yes. But I was definitely like the one that designed the kind of the way that I wanted it to sound. Basically, it's almost like I directed like, oh, can you put that there? I want the vocoder on the chorus. I want the guitar to go with me. I want the big booming chorus, and I want it to be nice and chill here, and like add this there. Like that's sort of the language. But he helped put it together too. He'll have little comments too. But but with this new song, it's called Danger Zone, which is my next song. And it's going to be out sometime soon. I haven't finished it yet, but it's almost there. And it's going to be another song that's, I don't know if I'd call it empowerment, more like I rule the world kind of song. So
badass cool. Song.
Yeah, it's a badass song. Yes. It's definitely that. And you can kind of tell from the title too. So yeah. It's kind of like a chant, maybe like, think, I don't know, but We Are the Champions. I don't know. Okay. Yeah. Not exactly. It's really not like that, but that energy of like, yeah,
But that's a cool follow up to Tug of War, because it's all about, Tug of War is all about like taking back the power, and then right. Danger Zone, I feel like, I mean, what do I know? But maybe it's like remaining in that powerful state where you,
yes,
and you're kind of continuing that artistic path of like showing people that you want to. Again, it's vague, but you still want to tell people to not let themselves be anything other than that badass. Don't let people take advantage of you, and keep yourself out of the danger zone. I'm guessing. I mean, again, what do I know? Yeah.
But it's actually. Yeah, it's very close to that. It's basically, and yes, I did think about that when I thought, okay, what's the next one I'm going to put out? And I thought, oh, well, I could put out this ballad here, or I could put out this here. And I'm like, let's build on what I already made.
Right.
So I it's a song, it's basically saying nothing is going to bring me down. I'm living it up basically in the danger zone. Like, right. I'm on fire.
Right.
You can't stop me. Like that kind of thing is what it is. So I think that song's really important for people to hear sometimes. I mean, for me, when I would walk into school when I was younger, I'd be like, that's the kind of thing I would want to listen to. Like, yeah, I rule this
right.
place.
Yeah,
I'm a queen or a king or whatever. So yeah, that's definitely the goal of this one. It's definitely a feel good kind of. There's no like, oh, this person is being so mean to me. It's like I'm awesome.
Yeah. Well, we're going to play Tug of War in just a moment. Everybody, thank you so much for tuning into the very first episode of American Idol Unaired. Before we go, we do have some housekeeping. If you like this podcast, here's what you got to do. If you're on Apple Podcast, you can subscribe, you can rate, and you can leave a review. That's a lot of cool things if you want to leave a nice message. Give it 5 stars if you like it. It'll drive up the algorithm. We talked about algorithms a lot. I think podcasters, musicians, we all want that algorithm. And subscribe so that you don't miss a note of this show. Spotify, it's a little more limiting. You can rate, you cannot review, but you can follow so that you also don't miss notifications when there are new episodes. Any other platforms like Google Podcasts, iHeart, they don't really have any of that stuff, but still, thank you so much for listening. And if you're like me and you like to watch podcasts, I don't know about you, I kind of like to see the reactions, which is why we're recording this whole thing on video.
I actually do. I listen to podcasts and I watch them. Yep.
Right. So you want to watch this podcast, this interview, or any of our upcoming interviews, all you got to do, just go to YouTube, type in American Idol Unaired. You will see all of our interviews. And finally, you can follow us on Instagram or TikTok at Idol Unaired Podcast. And that's where you will find clips from the show. You can find out all about our upcoming guests. And Julia, before we let you go, I want to give you the chance to tell people where to follow you, how to support you on your journey, streaming your music, anything you want. Take it away.
So you can follow me on my Instagram at Julia Jewel Music. Jewel is spelled Jewel. And that's the same handle for my TikTok too, which I just started up. So let's go get that TikTok.
Yes.
And my YouTube channel is called Julia Jewel. And I have a website where you could find every link to everything at juliajewel.com. Dream!
Stream,
Stream Tug
stream,
of War.
stream. Stream Tug of War, and here's a little taste of that song right now. Tug of War, Julia Jewell.